So why has Bruno Senna been replaced at Williams? To be honest with you, I think the one factor that's let Bruno down is his qualifying this year. I don't think his qualifying has been good enough. I think he was knocked out in Q1 a couple of times, and he was only able to qualify on occasions around 15th to 17th area. I think Bruno, although he performed well in the races and he finished in points on 10 occasions, that's more or less half the season, his qualifying just was not good enough. And I think that's why Bruno finds himself without a Williams seat for next season. And okay, Pasta finished only 5 times in the points, but he was the one who got the race win for Williams. And we've seen Pasta being able to get the car into Q3 on many occasions this year, and he's even been able to his qualifying's been pretty good as well. I know he's been he's qualified in the top 5 on a lot of occasions this year. And in Spain, he proved that on any given day, Maldonado is a fantastic driver and he can lead from the front, without any issues. So I think Pasta is definitely one for the future, and I do think he can be a world champion. And okay, Pasta did have his moments this year. He did cause collisions, but give him credit. Second half of the season, he seemed to have calmed down, and he didn't cause as many collisions as he caused in the first half of the season. But Valtteri Bottas he's one for the future, and Williams has said a lot of good things about Valtteri, so it's up to the Finn to deliver next season. Otherwise, he'll be under pressure. But Bruno, I could certainly see him going to Caterham. I think he'd do a good job at Caterham. So for Bruno, I think despite finishing in the points 10 times this season, I just think that his qualifying's let him down, and I think that's one reason why Williams decided to go with Bottas alongside Maldonado for the 2013 season. I think it's a real shame that HRT haven't been included in the list for next season. We know their financial problems. We know that they haven't been able to find a buyer. And it's a real shame, because I like to see more cars on the grid, and knowing that potentially there could be 22 cars on the grid, I think it's real sad. HRT would have been great to see a Spanish team more in Formula 1. And HRT, when it was first launched in 2010, it was supposed to be a long-term project, but it looks as if that project is about to come to an end. But then it makes me ask the question, what was the point of setting up HQ in Madrid when it looks as if HRT are going out of the sport and they can't even find a buyer? So it's a real shame that HRT haven't been included in the list for next season. But if they can find a buyer, then great, and then it will be great to see 24 cars on the grid next season. But the second part of your question, Matt, as to whether the FIA should open the door for a new team for 2014, absolutely. I think there is a space. I think there should be a space that should be vacated for a new team to come into the sport in 2014. I just wonder if Stefan GP will make a bid for a place in Formula 1 in 2014. I just think that, we know that Stefan GP put a bid to compete in Formula 1 in 2010 and 2011, but their bids were unsuccessful. So maybe third time lucky, maybe Stefan GP could put a bid so that they can compete in Formula 1 in 2014. But yeah, I think, like I said earlier, the more cars we have on the grid, the better. And I think that the FIA should open the door for a new team in 2014. So will Heikki Kovalainen be in Formula 1 next season? I think Heikki, he's done a great job at Caterham for the last 3 seasons. There's no denying that, and I think it would be foolish of Caterham to get rid of him. But Heikki did seem downbeat after after qualifying at Brazil, and downbeat about his future in Formula 1, which is a shame, because I think Heikki is actually a decent driver, and if you put him in a midfield team or even a or now I think a front team, I think he'd do a good job. I just think that he went to McLaren too early in his career, and he wasn't able to support Lewis as often as he could have. But I think Heikki, like I said, has done a great job at Caterham, and I think it'd be a real shame if Caterham did let Kovalainen go. If Caterham did let Kovalainen go, but nowhere would the Finn go. Force India have got a seat alongside Paul di Resta available, but Sebastian Buemi, Jaime Alguersuari and Adrian Sutil, I think they're the three drivers that are in pole position, or like they're three favourites for the vacant Force India seat. And as I've already said in my earlier Ask Spanish videos, I think Adrian Sutil should be the man to partner Paul di Resta next season at Force India. There's also been talk of Kovalainen replacing Grosjean at Lotus, but I think Romain does deserve a second chance at Lotus. I think he will be given a second season at Lotus. I mean, with Romain, he has had his incidents this year. He's caused crashes, but he's also had his good moments as well. He's also finished on the podium a couple of times, and he's also put in some strong performances as well throughout the season. So I think Romain is worthy of a second chance, and he does deserve a second chance at Lotus. And I think Heikki, going to Lotus as a reserve driver wouldn't be a disaster. Obviously he would like a race seat for next season, but going back to Lotus as a reserve driver, I don't think would be a bad option. So I really hope Heikki Kovalainen is in Formula One next season. If he isn't, then I wish him all the best in whatever it is he does. But I think he'd do a good job as a reserve driver at Lotus. It was a fantastic Brazilian Grand Prix, wasn't it, to cap off a brilliant season for Formula One. It's been a stellar year for Formula One. We are in a golden era for Formula One, and to have 8 different winners this year was quite remarkable. And I've said this so many times, and I'll say it again. If you said to anyone at the start of the season that we'd have 8 different winners, they wouldn't have believed you. And to see the likes of Rosberg, Raikkonen, Maldonado win their first, win Grand Prix this year, I think it's absolutely remarkable. Pirelli played their part once again, and if 2012 is anything to go by, then I think next year will be even better. And I do hope we can see a lot more midfield teams right up there and competing for race wins. So yeah, the Brazilian Grand Prix was a great end to a fantastic season, drama from start to finish, and exactly what you want from a Grand Prix. So yeah, great Grand Prix, and fantastic 2012 Formula One season overall. So was Nico Hulkenburg's penalty harsh at the Brazilian Grand Prix? If I'm being honest with you, I think it was harsh. We saw Nico have the inside line going into turn 1 and Lewis being on the outside. We know that Caterham was in front of both of them, and no doubt would have played a part. But we saw Nico lose the back end of the car, and that unfortunately went into Lewis's car, and Lewis was then forced to retire. A real shame for Lewis, because I'm sure he would have loved to have won the Grand Prix on his final race for McLaren. But it was a real shame that Hamilton had to retire because of that. As for Nico, I didn't, okay, he lost the back end of the car, but it was a wet track, it was a damp track, and and other drivers were struggling as well to keep the car on the track. We saw Alonso go off the track a couple of times at turn 1. So I think to give Nico a drive-through penalty was harsh. I really do. But give credit to Hulkenburg. Once he served his drive-through, I thought he did a good job to finish 5th, and he finished just behind Mark Webber. So it was a decent performance from Nico. And had he not done what he did, and had he not had that drive-through, Force India could have been celebrating their first ever victory in Formula One, and Nico could have been celebrating his first win as well in the sport. But it wasn't to be. But nonetheless, it was still a good performance from Hulkenburg. And to answer your question, I thought the penalty was harsh. So the best race of the season. Three races that stand out for me straight away. Firstly, the European Grand Prix at Valencia, incidents galore. And when you looked at the Formula One calendar at the start of the 2012 season, you would have thought that the European Grand Prix wouldn't be a classic, but it turned out to be that way. And so we saw Sebastian Vettel have his alternator issues, and had he not had those problems, then I'm sure he would have gone on to win that race. Romain Grosjean, he could have won that race, but again, I think he had alternator issues as well. Obviously, we saw the incident between Pastor Maldonado and Lewis Hamilton at the end of the race, and also Fernando Alonso winning the race in front of his home crowd. So it was a race that had drama from start to finish, and it was a fantastic Grand Prix. So I'd put the European Grand Prix right up there as one of the best Grand Prix of the season. Abu Dhabi as my second race that stands out. Again, at the start of the year, you wouldn't have thought Abu Dhabi would serve up a real intriguing and classic race, but it did. Again, from start to finish, it was a great race. Obviously, Sebastian Vettel started from the pit lane, and he puts in a fine performance to finish third. And okay, the safety cars did play its part, but Sebastian pulled off some great overtakes, and it had so many incidents and exactly what you want from a Grand Prix. So I put Abu Dhabi right up there, and let's not forget Brazil, the final race of the season. The Drivers' Championship came down to this race, exactly what the neutral will have wanted, the Drivers' Championship to go down to the final race of the season at Brazil, and we weren't disappointed. It was a good Grand Prix from start to finish. Sebastian Vettel spun out what spun. He couldn't really do anything once Bruno Senna went into him. But yeah, Sebastian recovered well to finish, I think it was 5th or 6th in the race. But yeah, a fantastic end to the season. If I had to pick a Grand Prix of the season, it would have to be Brazil. It was a fantastic end to a brilliant season, a stellar season for Formula One. Exactly what you want from a Grand Prix. Incidents from start to finish. So many talking points to come out of the Grand Prix. And it wasn't just at the front of the field where the battle was hotting up. It was also at the back as well, where Caterham were challenging Marussia for that all-important 10th place in the constructors. So it was a barnstorming race, and a great way to end what was a fantastic Formula One season. So keep sending your Formula One questions in from Ask Manish. You can send them to @Baggies20 on Twitter, and I look forward to reading them. But for now, cheerio.